So Tesla's more than a stock, it's more than a car, it's more than a company, but what is it? I could smack an offer, but I'd rather just hit that bid. We got Yashu here, because we are in Vancouver, and that's what you got to do, is you got to chat with the local talent whenever you can. I'm Brian, welcome to my Tesla Weekend. So, first of all, so awesome to meet you in person, so great to be here. We're up here for Fully Charged, I am anyway. He's up here to have dinner with me and live here. So, we were talking earlier, you were saying that for a mega cap company, Tesla as a stock behaves a little differently.
Yes. Oh, for sure. And by the way, thanks for having me on. I think anyone that follows the day-to-day movements, which by the way I don't think is fully healthy. By the way, I will add that in. I don't think the habits that we promote on the channel sometimes can be fully healthy. But if you're joining us for the live streams, it's always fun. Tesla, at a mega cap company of 800 billion-ish, whatever market cap last time I checked, for it to almost, and people say it's like a penny stock, it's not a penny stock level, but the intraday swings, the options order flow, the way that we see Tesla react to news, and sometimes, like we were talking over dinner, not react to news that we think it's going to react to, like, oh, surely this is going to be a 5 or 10% update and it's completely flat, I think just opens and makes it so awesome for us content creators, because we can talk about narratives and why we think that is, and the ability for us to talk about the next news cycle. It's never ending with Tesla.
It really is never ending. In terms of a company's sheer hype, sheer enthusiasm from owners and investors, the only thing I've ever seen that comes close is Apple. Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, the thing with Apple though is that it never really existed at a point where we had the level of just media hype that we have in the cycle today. Because I mean, yeah, if we're talking about 2010, circa Steve Jobs, before Steve Jobs passing, if Twitter existed, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, like TikTok's different level, but Tesla's just living in its own world right now, where it's us content creators being able to capitalize on entertainment value, but also education.
Yeah.
And I think it's so unique that we're living, and maybe we watch this in 10 years and it's like, man, they didn't even know about this thing that was about to come out in a year or two. But I think it's just so exciting to see the level of content that we can create just based on one company.
Yeah, and you got to wonder if things would be different if Apple had come of age, as it were, in the social media age. Yeah. Because it didn't, I mean, even 5 years ago, your channel couldn't have been what it is now. Yeah. Because he's on all the time with live streams covering the market while the market's open, which is so volatile and crazy to watch. And one of the things we're talking about was, if you had the ability to have some kind of literal inside information, I know what this number is going to be, or I know what this product is, I don't think it would allow you to trade in a way that actually helps.
Well, I like to think about it this way. Back in the day, if you had some sort of insider info that no one else was privy to, you'd have an edge. Today, it can almost work backwards, and I'll explain what I mean by that. If you get an insider tip, or I don't get any insider tips for what it's worth, but let's say if you're a Wall Street exec, hotshot, playing for consultants, you get some sort of random tip about this factory line being down from someone that's standing outside the factory counting how many employees are coming in. It's almost like when a big news cycle like that, or a big little tip like that happens, it almost turns out to be an overreaction to the stock, positive or negative. So what you see now is almost when you get these sort of insider tips, if you want to call it, or Wall Street tidbits, you see an overreaction both on the upside and an overreaction on the downside. Whereas before you would get no reaction, you would have some sort of alpha there. Now it's almost like you want to be almost the antithesis of the move, because if it's gone up 10%, it probably should only be up 4%. And the rest of the 6% is attributable to people like us that get a little bit excited, start buying options or calls, or start buying more to trade with, or just people that are looking to just swing trade. So I think it's cool to see how when stocks go down, like Tesla goes down 10% on some sort of FUD article about over the air software updates. It's like, that's not a big deal, but by the time the market realizes it, it's already over-corrected for it. So now you see this huge volatility swing back and forth, whereas I think before you'd almost get no move and then you'd be able to capitalize that way. But now I think the move is you wait for an overreaction and you almost fade it.
So what's your advice? What do you do? How do you get around it?
I don't know, actually.
Dollar cost average, buy and hold?
Yeah, I think for the most part, if you're an investor, like what there is no real point of worrying about the day to day if you're an investor in any stock that you have a full thesis for. But that being said, my channel wouldn't exist if that was the point. I think I almost look at it this way, Brian. I go, you know, I'm not sure. Do you watch sports?
Yeah, I mean,
favorite team?
it would have to still probably be the Mariners.
Okay, so who's the best team in the league then?
Right now?
Yeah.
Well, it's the off season.
Here, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Lightning. They win cups. They almost make it to the finals every single year. You're like, oh, it's another year the Tampa Bay Lightning might make it to the finals and win the cup in hockey. That doesn't mean I don't watch the season. And that's the same way I look at the stock.
Yeah.
You know,
that's great.
I'm still going to watch the games because I'm still invested in the sport. I'm still invested in the company. But people say, what's the point of even watching the stock? Well, I think the fun comes into watching the single independent games. Just because I know the Tampa Bay Lightning are probably going to end up winning the cup doesn't mean I don't want to watch my team anymore.
That's true.
Or watch the day-to-day games.
That's true.
And that's kind of the way I look at it is not only entertainment, but keeping up with what's going on. And that's cool.
If the score was the only thing that mattered, they wouldn't televise the game.
Exactly.
And I just realized it is not the off season. They are playing right now.
There you go.
I just don't watch them anymore.
There you go.
But
neither do I.
Yeah, obviously you'd have called me out on it. But no, that's a good point. And yeah, that's why. And if you can't catch the game, you catch the highlights.
Exactly.
And well, I could wait until the season's over and watch the whole season's highlights. You could, yeah.
Yep.
You're free to do that, but a lot of people don't.
Exactly.
That's a really great way to deconstruct it. Okay. So yeah, I mean, and then options. What is your advice to people on options? Apart from don't.
Yes. Well, first of all, I should say I never give advice on the channel. I'm not coming up
on his channel, but on my channel, here we go.
There we go. I'm not like some sort of Dave Ramsey or something, you know. But I think the biggest thing is learn what you're doing before you do it. Options are one of those things where it's easy to do in terms of execution. But I'm telling you, when I talk to people that are showing me something they've done, 9 times out of 10, they have no idea what they actually put on. Some sort of spread, they don't know the risks with it, they don't know the pin risk that comes with doing spreads, they don't know about selling naked calls being a huge risk to their portfolio, they don't know about cash secured selling puts, they're just selling puts on margin. Like, there's just so many things when it comes to options that if you don't know anything about options, that's fine. Go to YouTube, go to like Tasty Trade's channel. They do awesome content. They're the people that created Thinkorswim as a platform before they sold it to TD. There's 1.5 million good YouTube channels and content out there that you can learn options from. But before you do anything, paper trade, have fun with it, of course. But remember, options are leverage. For every one contract of options you buy, you're essentially buying 100 shares of something, albeit sometimes it's out of the money. But just know that you're playing with fire. You can use it to fuel your fireplace.
Right.
Or it can burn your house down. You just got to be careful.
Yeah. And my problem with options is I'm not smarter than the army of engineers who designed the algorithm, and I'm not faster than the algorithm itself. And those guys I've met some of the people who write those algorithms, and they are very sharp people, and they are absolutely nothing but metric and performance driven.
Well, what I would say to that is, what you're pretty much saying is, how can I compete with those people? And I think you're not competing with those people if you move out your time horizon. Yes, if you're competing at a microsecond scale, a couple minute scale, yes, you're competing with those types of people. But it's just like investing. If you broaden your time horizon of having to be right on your thesis, now you're not competing with those people. Now you're competing with just average people, or not even competing, because that sounds like a zero-sum game, and I guess we could have this debate later. But it's yes, micro trading, you know, on the second by second level, not what I'm into. But when it comes to, hey, you think there's a higher probability of something happening than the market is pricing in, and you think there's a degree of alpha to be had here, and you can allocate a percentage of the risk capital that you're willing to go to zero on something, that's where I think it gets a little bit fun.
Okay. So,
and, by the way, I should probably also mention, options don't have to just be degenerate options. Like, options also allow you to do covered calls. If you have shares in a company, you're essentially renting out those shares, and you're being able to collect rent or premium for holding those shares. Options were made to be insurance strategies for people that hold equities. They weren't made to be degenerate, gambling, seeking people to trade. They were made as insurance policies. I guess you disagree. But remember,
I don't know enough to disagree or agree.
Fair enough. But that's why they were made, right? Is because you could start selling out of the money. You could start collecting premium on the equity that you owned. And in the case that it surpassed that, you would have to give up your shares. But hey, that was the risk that you were willing to take. So anyways,
I think that's all great information. What did we miss? What did we misunderstand? Leave it in the comments below, and stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you, clever robots. Maybe next time I'm on the road. And for fun, we can also show that I am legit standing up on a step because otherwise, my God.